All right, so this week I'm going to be talking more at you than I am doing a lot of things, because I'm going to explain kind of where we're at with this floor pan install on the 63 Galaxie. We're going to do that right after the break. Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today. All right, so here we are. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a talking video, because I kind of want to know where you guys are at, and I can't know that and do the videos. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to ask you the question, what do you want to see? In these videos, I can go as deep or as shallow as we need to go. Right now, everything we've done so far has just been a weld-in video. We weld things together and all that. But do you want to see my complete process for getting this pan inside this car? And that means going in and fixing the pinholes in the floor without using the welder, because I think some of these are going to be a case where I'm just going to have such a large hole by the time I'm done, it's not worth messing with. Using a rust-inhibiting paint on here, using products to neutralize the rust before we put the paint on there. I can cover all of those things on this floor pan for you, and you can get a good idea on how that works. Please leave a comment in the section below to let me know that, or email me or whatever. Email address is below me here. It's also in the description below. Any links that we're doing, they're going to be in the description below as well. Now, what I'm going to do now is move quickly into what I wanted to talk about today, and that is where we are at. Over the last several days, I've been working on this floor pan, getting it into position, and doing my cuts and setups. Every time I do a floor pan, especially anymore, I do not go in and just do my big swath cut initially and then work from there. I found that that does not work that well. And so what I've done is, you can see I have the original panel here. This is the one that was in there before, and it was sitting right about there. Now you'll notice it's short of where the new pan is, and that's what I did intentionally, because what I wanted to do was to cut out enough of this that I could lay the new pan in to see kind of where we're at. You'll see that there's a mark that I'm showing you with an arrow right now that's above the new mark that's on the firewall pan at this point. That's where the pan was sitting when the original piece, this piece, was still in the car. So I cut that out, leaving myself about 1 inch of gap all the way around that pan that you saw from this pan sitting in there. And then when I removed that other piece, still had that inch gap, the pan dropped to right there. So what you're going to end up having is this. The pan, the original pan, is probably about 1/16 of an inch thick. Maybe a little less than that, but let's just call it 1/16 of an inch. Your cutoff wheel, right here, that cutoff wheel is a 1/16 inch thick cutoff wheel. So when you're looking at that, you're almost at 1/8 of an inch with distance that it's going to chew out of that if you just went ahead and cut it right where it's sitting right now. So rather than do that, I'm going to do the old thing of measure twice, cut once. But I know I'm not going to just cut once, because that's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do now is I will go in and I will pull this pan out of here, and I'm going to make a cut about 1/8 of an inch below the new white line that's in here. I'll pull this pan out of the way so you can see where our cut points are going to be. My strategery thought is this. I'm going to make my cut just below that break-off point in the chassis right here. So there'll be a cut here all the way across, about 1/8 of an inch below that. So probably about right there, all the way to that corner to where I'm going to have this piece stay in there, all the way around 1/8 of an inch below that one line. And then I'll lay the panel back in there and see how it's going to lay, because it may be fine and I may have to do a little bit more. You're going to have to worry these things out when you're doing them. You're not going to be able to just go in there and whack it all out and put the new piece in there and be done. That's one of the things that's always frustrated Cam with this kind of work, is it's always fit and fiddle. You're not getting everything done slam bam, thank you ma'am, right away. You have to work the problem. So what I am going to do now, I'm not going to show you welding, because if I show you welding, it's just going to be me going in and doing little tacks like I've shown you in the past. You want to see that, go pick up the videos we did just recently on those things. The URLs are down in the description below where the title is. And then I also am putting the name of the videos and the episode number right here below me, so that you can see those and you'll know where to go to pick that up. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and make my 1/8 inch cut. I hate doing this stuff because I'm always scared I'm going to screw it up. But the funny thing about screwing up this kind of work, you can probably go in and fix it. It may require more metal, and as Cam likes to call it, more metal glue, but you can make it better. At the same time, possibly making it worse. So, going to do a little bit of cutting for you here, and then we're going to probably seal this thing up for the day. Now when I do these, I do plunge cuts. And the reason for the plunge cuts is, quite frankly, they just work better for this kind of activity, at least in my opinion. It gives me a chance to go in and re-examine where I'm at to make sure I'm in the right spot on my cuts. If I just start cutting out across the metal, the blade is actually going to keep it from doing what I want it to do, because it's going to want to stay on whatever line you throw it on. And if you need to make a dramatic change in direction, it's going to be a lot harder unless you use the plunge. Also, I see a lot of people using larger cutoff wheels without the guard on them, and that really worries me, because I won't do this without a guard in place, because I would like to keep all my fingers, toes, and face right where it's at. All right, this is my next test fit. Let's see if I am close to where I want to be. All right, I could probably take a little more off of the base metal on here to drop that pan more into position. I am more interested in doing what I'm doing right now, where I'll go in and I'll make a cut and then I'll test fit. I'll make a cut and test fit till I get the pan right where it needs to be. I'm danger close on it now. It'll be another cut after this one, and then the pan should lay in right where I want it. Right now, we're in the wind a little bit, but I could actually probably just move the pan down some at the back here and just about lay in at certain points if I really wanted to. Because this pan is kind of fluid, and right now, if I did that, my lines on most of it match up pretty darn well. I'm a little off on the actual floor pan section here. It's a little back from where it needs to be to match the tunnel section. No, I'm not going to worry about that. But now what I could do is, since those two are matching up pretty nicely, I would go in now and just check what I've got across the rest of this and see where I need to cut, because it may get to where it's like, if you'll notice right here, that's falling right in line, and it's actually where it needs to be. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I could probably even roll the pan around a little more and get it to play in. That's the thing that always bugs me about this kind of stuff, is when you're doing floor pans like this, any amount of small movement can make a huge change on the other end of the panel. If you're trying to get the floor pan to mate up to the original tunnel section, you can get that to work in how you need it, and then it'll change everything back here, because this is now sitting a lot more flush and nice than it was before. It's a game, man, I'm telling you. This is an art. This is not a science. And I'll probably leave that where it is, and I'll change my marking on the tunnel, because you'll notice back here, this is now sitting way proud of where that mark was at. Now you know why I like to go in and actually just start working this thing in with my cuts. Because what I'll do now is I'll go in and I'll use a black Sharpie marker to go in and mark the new section up and see where we're at then. And I'll just start worrying this thing into position. If I liked where this thing is laying, which I do, especially in this corner over here, I'll go in and I'll mark it across the two panels. Because right there, I'm not going to mess with that anymore. And then when I go back in and I relay this, I can check those marks to make sure they're consistent with where they need to be. I'll get to a certain point where I may even just go in and Dremel cut the actual tunnel hump, just how that kind of stuff works. I'm never sure what I'm doing until I'm doing it. I will say this as final closing item on this. I'm not going to weld this into position until after I get that line along the back wall and over the tunnel pretty much set. So now what I will do is I'm going to go get my Sharpie marker and I'll go in and I'll mark all that up. But I want to hear from you guys before we do anything else. I'm going to mark that up and do a lot of that off camera. So what I want to know is from you guys, what do you want to see? Comment in the section below. Do you want to see the whole soup to nuts? If you do, let me know. If you say, no, that's a waste of time, just show us the final weld in, we'll do that as well. So do me a favor and check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. So we have a great time. It's a lot of fun. Everybody seems to enjoy it when they come on there. I answer tech questions and all that. The money that we get from Patreon doesn't go to me. It goes to pay Andrew to put a kid to work, learning the trade of video production, as well as kind of some of the things I'm working on the cars as well. But we work with youth doing this, and so the money doesn't benefit me. But what I want to ask you is, if it's benefited you at all, why don't you put a little money toward the Patreon account to help get Andrew paid and get him on a full-time basis around here? That would be really cool. Doesn't benefit me, it just benefits Andrew and the kids that come in here on Saturdays. All right, also subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be helping us march toward 100,000 subscribers. That is our goal with this. As soon as I hit 100,000, I'm going to shut up about it. I'm not going to say another word. We'll have the little button you're seeing down here in the corner, or one much like it, for you to subscribe to the channel, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to actually go in and pound this rock like I have been for the last couple months. We want to be able to get the plaque, put it on the wall, bada bing, bada boom, we're out and we're done. Also, be kind to each other, love each other, treat each other nice, and we'll see you guys on down the road. So, seriously, what do you want to see on all this stuff? Because there's POR 15 probably going to be slabbing all over this thing. I'm going to be doing all kind of little bodywork stuff to the floor pans. There's a lot going on that I can show you, or I can just ball through it and you guys don't have to worry about seeing a bit of it. But if you want to see it, we'll definitely show it. So there you go. That's my final word for the day. I'm going to shut the cameras off and actually get some work done, because I can work 3 times faster with no cameras on, and probably cuss a lot. But it'll only be cutting, it won't be the pan. It won't be cutting anything other, well, we'll be cutting, but not the pan. I'm going to shut up now.